like strings, no ties. I don't wanna keep you dreaming, you waste your time. I don't need strings, no lies. You needed something to believe in. 200 miles in the evening, super speeding. Are you leaving right now? When I pretend that I'm your boyfriend, I'll pour the drink so don't annoy me. Are you lonely? Cause I'll be gone till the next when the sun's up. Blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Feeling your touch and I'm feeling so sweet. Hey, blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Never turn back when I'm going full speed. Live fast, drive fast, like 200 on the dashboard. Ooh, it's my way, even if it is a crash course. We were never the same, are you out of your mind? I don't like strings, no ties. I don't wanna keep you dreaming, you waste your time. I don't need strings, no lies. You needed something to believe in. 200 miles in the evening, super speeding. Are you leaving right now? When I pretend that I'm your boyfriend, I'll pour the drink so don't annoy me. Are you lonely? Cause I'll be gone till the next when the sun's up. Blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Feeling your touch and I'm feeling so sweet. Hey, blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Never turn back when I'm going full speed. Live fast, drive fast, like 200 on the dashboard. Ooh, it's my way, even if it is a crash course. Live fast, drive fast, like 200 on the dashboard. Ooh, no one can slow down, I just wanna go faster. Work, switching lanes, doing work. All I hear is heavy metal. Dripping tears on my shirt. Dripping tears on my shirt. 777, 747. Just a little piece of heaven. We don't know how to act now. Yeah, I don't wanna come back round. No, I don't wanna let you down. Told you that I'm leaving now. Please don't stay out. Please don't stay out. You needed something to believe in. 200 miles in the evening, super speeding. Are you leaving right now? When I pretend that I'm your boyfriend, I'll pour the drink so don't annoy me. Are you lonely? Cause I'll be gone till the next when the sun's up. Blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Blame it on me and your touch and I'm feeling so sweet. Blame it on me, you can blame it on me. Never turn back when I go full speed. Ooh, live fast, drive fast, like 200 on the dashboard. Ooh, if it is a crash course. Live fast, drive fast, like 200 on the dashboard. Ooh, no one can slow down, I just wanna go faster.
Welcome, welcome. Starting the stream now. How's everyone doing? Sorry my desktop's all crazy, but need to get used to streaming somehow. What's this showing up over here? Another version of the scene? Okay, yep, I am noob. Fixing that. But let's do an audio check. Test. Yep, working. Audio is working too. Okay. And yeah, I think I'm ready to get started. Time to start vibe coding for the day. Focus up. If you didn't catch yesterday's stream, I recently bought another Claude 20x usage subscription, and apparently there was a bug and I was able to get a reset on the same day, and so I was working like crazy trying to burn credits and get work done, but there was a limit on the usage, so wasn't able to. Sorry about that. A lot of things showing up. But yeah, it's a new day to start streaming, and hopefully I could turn this into a production quality one day. So lowering that. I think I have on the side, my AI is managing the stream for me, but I did something really cool. I'm able to, I think I got Windows working properly now, and every time there's an update to the stream, or that should update the content. Right now it looks like it's frozen, so I will fix it right now to update the latest and greatest of the Windows running. Okay, so yeah, every time I work on Mac, it'll switch to Mac, and every time I work on Windows, it'll switch to Windows. Hopefully it switches soon. Takes a few seconds. Yeah, because I noticed in my stream, there really isn't much space for my to see anything. I was looking at the stream last night, and I'm like, oh man, there's barely any space to look at anything. So I decided to come up with a solution to properly display things when I'm looking at them. And so when I'm not, that way it just gives more real estate on the overall screen and what to see. And I need to activate chat, so let me do that right now so you guys can see yourself when you chime in. Adding more stuff to keep everything updated. But yeah, as you can see, I have my Navi right there on the bottom right. It looks super ugly, but now's the time to update it and figure it out. So let's get started here. I was working on the starting student. I could have streamed like maybe 5 hours ago, but I was just distracted doing stuff. And yeah, like a little time to get to work. Right now, I was mainly concerned about getting Windows working. And yeah, it looks like I have a stream playing on the side on my as well. So I need to fix that on stream. Is it? No, that's just my window. And then, man, streaming is hard. How to play that music. All right, let's see what we have for Windows. So it says it got the desktop running and working, which is good. We fixed SSG from running. The only remaining git change is path blah blah blah, which was already modified in session. When you're ready, ship it as a patch release to Windows users. Okay, hopefully I can roll out a patch. I need to figure out how I'm going to centralize notifications on releases for different OS distributions, because Windows should only do Windows. Mac should only do Mac notifications. Linux should only do Linux notifications. So I'm gonna do a publish. This is the announcement on a schedule. Let's see if my voice is working. Hello, hello? No. Hello, hello? Voice is not working. All right, let's quit that then. Let's see here. All right, let's get started. Kill this. Kill that. Activate voice. Testing, testing. Okay, for this one, what was I working on? I need you to adjust the /publish skill to only publish on the respective operating system. So if it's Linux, they'll publish to Linux only. If it's Windows, they'll publish to Windows only. Mac, publish only to Mac. This should be applying to SSG, to SigmaShake desktop as well. All right, put that in. That was in plan mode. Yeah, we don't have infinite credits now, so we're just gonna go on plan mode. Next is, what else is this? This is for the announcements. Re-auth Twitch. Find mistake, smoke testing, announcement live, ignore the emergency button. Fixed. You may want to delete those 3 messages. Posted on the live. Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. You're okay to announce. I forgive you. And then what are we looking at? Oh yeah, we have to work on performance issues because when running on Windows and Mac, it's like taking up a lot of CPU. So we have to, make sure that it doesn't take too much CPU and memory. If anything, it'd probably be a CPU intensive thing. And this needs to be renamed to SigmaShake Desktop instead of Sentinel. Before I start the build, stand across platform. All right, let it do its thing. Oops, this thing keeps showing up. I gotta adjust the scene. When rebuilding the scene, I need you to remove these following sources. Delete. SSG dashboard. SSG. No. Whoops. When rebuilding the OBS overlays and scenes, I need you to remove these scenes. All right, we need to also, let's clear this. We need to update our Navi because it looks ugly. So we're gonna do that. And we also need to figure out how to improve our reach for YouTube. So there's gonna be some YouTube checking here and there, just to make sure I have the proper, what do you call it, tags and descriptions. Okay, thumbnail. We should do something about the thumbnail. Yeah, let's generate a thumbnail using, what do you call it? Claude design. Let's see here, I'm gonna put on this. I'm just gonna hold my hands out. I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this. And where's OBS? OBS. I'm gonna do just a scene of me. And then zoom out. Zoom out. Do the whole thing. I have to click this Linux. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I have to show my hands. I think AI could remove the background, but move it back more. I don't know, like this. I need to be in frame. More further away. Right, that's frame. Okay, I could do that. Okay. Cancel. Yes. Go back to main scene. All right. That's gonna be the frame. Back to business. All right. I have to zoom in again. Okay, Mac. Does it look like it's working? Updated version, publish. So I got the desktop, all binaries at satisfactory build script. These are not part of before. Okay, it looks like it supported the improved performance on Mac, and I think we should publish. Oh wait, let me make sure. What do you call it? I can publish separate skills. Publish one skill for both. One skill for both. Whole family. Okay. Run on every OS. Okay. Welcome, Jay Spiffy. Welcome back. Nice to see you here. Joining in. Just started. Now the notification for me is delayed, but maybe. Oh, I ran out of music. Gotta play some music. Gotta keep up with the music. Oh yeah, we're going over the news segment now. It's 11 to 11, so it's time for TBPN. There you go.
It's like,
Let's start it off so we could catch it live ourselves, increase the quality, and get it running. And I need to set anything else. All right, I think we can start now. Okay.
You're watching TBPN. Today's Tuesday, April
I'll
28th,
add this to a
2026.
source.
You're watching TBPN Ultra on the Temple of Technology, the Fortunes of Finance. We got a quick show because John Gray from Blackstone is joining in 20 minutes. We're going to run through a bunch of stuff. I wrote about this in-car surveillance thing. It's going viral. It's sort of fake news. We got to sort of truth zone it, but also it's coming, and it might not matter because if you get in a robotaxi, there's definitely going to be a camera on you. But the fear is centered around this idea that there will be a requirement from the federal government that every new car sold in the United States will be required by law to have technology, that puts constant surveillance on the driver. And this is happening sooner than you think by 2027. That's just 12 months away. AI in your car will determine if you're sober and fit to drive, automatically turning off
John,
the vehicle.
It's almost May, by the way.
I know. We're what, 8 months away, I guess, from 2027. This is the real AI 2027 problem. This is a big deal.
We are having audio issues. No. It's most likely a nation state.
Potentially.
It's very possible we are under attack.
Potentially.
I also have audio issues.
It's like watching a dubbed foreign film. Well, maybe we can play this video of what happened the last time America tried to pull back on driving a car while intoxicated, and some of the response, some of the backlash from
any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed.
Can we pull this up? Okay. We're working on it. Anyway.
Production team is being humbled this morning.
Humbled. Anyway, let me read through some of my take, and then we'll play that funny video. So, sounds scary. Okay, John actually says audio sounds good to me for what it's worth. Let's go. Let's see. How about this? Does this sound okay? Does this sound okay? Does this sound okay? Does this sound okay?
Relax,
Hopefully it all sounds good. Yeah, let's play this video.
Driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting common is when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be communist country. Communist country.
When was that? Was that the...
Apparently that's real. I've seen that video before. I always thought it was fake. I didn't realize that was real. That feels like 80s, 70s, something
80s.
like that. 80s, okay. Well, there was backlash then and there's backlash
Let's see.
now. Some of it's a little bit
How does
overblown.
SGG look
This
now?
sounds very scary, constant surveillance. The real crazy version is
Need to reset
camera
Wayland
that's
for
watching
some
you at all
reason.
times. The government, the police, and the automaker can just turn off your car whenever they want. That sounds bad. What's actually being proposed? What's actually on the timetable? So the rationale for this is good. And I think most people would agree that it is a reasonable thing to do to try and curb alcohol-related vehicle accidents, drunk driving. There's more than 10,000 alcohol-related deaths each year on U.S. roads. That's a ton. Anything we can do to stop that, reduce that, totally worth working on, totally worth pursuing as long as it doesn't violate a whole bunch of other liberties or create more problems than it solves, right? We want net positive impact here. Technology is getting better at detecting intoxication, and it's getting a lot cheaper. So why not just ship drunk driver detection, drunk driver detection system with every car from the factory? That's the proposal. There are a bunch of potential downsides that we can get into, but it's important to set the facts straight about where we actually stand today. So the core concept here is generally correct. Congress did pass a mandate directing the NHTSA to create a standard for advanced drunk driving prevention technology in new passenger vehicles. Now, the 2027 date that people are citing, that's not a hard deadline. The law was passed back in 2024, and in the actual law, it basically allowed for delays. So they said the NHTSA will only issue a binding mandate requiring automakers to actually roll out this tech when the tech is ready, and the NHTSA currently says that the technology is not ready. So in theory, the tech feels close, but the scale of the problem is so big, you can see why there's a delay here. Alcohol detection systems exist and are typically deployed for drivers with DUIs. You're familiar with blowing in the tube, probably. Hopefully not personally, but the problem is that those little hoses that you blow into, those are active systems. They require you to actually sit there and do that for a minute.
Animation.
The government doesn't want that. That's not what the
They
proposal
want
is.
passive.
They want passive, which means breath sensing. So there's just like smell-o-vision, basically. It smells alcohol. It doesn't turn on the car. The other one is fingerprint reading. So you put your finger on the start button, and it scans into your finger and sees how many alcohol particles are inside, I guess. That sounds sci-fi, but we're close, I guess. There's a couple other ways you can solve that. And then camera system. Just look at the driver.
Can you please study how ASCII
all of
art
these
is
seem like
created
they could
when
be
it comes to
close be
movement?
roughly accurate
That way
right
we
now.
could
Like,
create a
you can
more
imagine an AI
realistic
startup or a university
anime
lab
looking
putting something
Navi.
together at a hackathon that's 90% of the way there, maybe 99% of the way there, maybe even 99.9% of the way there. But the problem is that Americans drive a lot. The
I
rough
noticed
estimate
that
is
my voice
there are
to
almost a
text
250
isn't sending
trillion
messages
driving
to
trips
a
per
Twitch
year
chat
in America.
and
It's
YouTube chat.
basically every American,
what's going
all
on there?
350 million of them basically, taking an average of 2 trips every single day of the year. So 224 billion trips a year is what the rough back of the envelope I did was. And what that means in practice is that if this system is 99.9% accurate, you're still looking at tens of millions of incorrect results every year. And the fact that probably 99.9% of these trips are not inebriated, like drunk driving is not 50% of trips, it's not 1% of trips, it's a very small amount.
Think about how people would abuse this new system. It'd be like students being like, sorry, I couldn't make it to the exam.
Exactly.
Because
Dog ate my lunch. My car wouldn't start because of a false positive on this. And so even if you're at 99%, you're still looking at tens of millions of incorrect results. The vast majority of those are going to be people who are sober. Somebody wants to get in their car for their morning commute. They're a little sleepy, or they wear some cologne that triggered some sensor. System flags them as intoxicated and prevents them from starting their car, and it's infuriating. The tech will probably get there with enough time and effort, so it's worth looking into who supports this and opposes it. The mandate was actually bipartisan, but there's starting to be a backlash from libertarian conservatives who are worried about Orwellian government controls. There's an idea that there will be a remote kill switch, which leads to a bunch of dystopian possibilities. That is not in the current provision. That's not what's actually being proposed right now. But it's possible that at the end result of this process of back and forth, you do wind up with that exact capability. And so people are worried about the system going off while you're driving at speed on the roads, and then the car just shuts off and you get in a crash, and that's like actually more dangerous than potentially the alternative. And so the middle ground seems to be what's called pre-drive lockout.
we need a tinfoil expert, because haven't the tinfoil enthusiasts have been saying that the sort of remote.
Are you using tinfoil enthusiast to mean conspiracy theorist? Yes. I've never heard that before. It's good though.
That's a new one.
Okay. Yes.
So tinfoil enthusiasts.
Yes. We'll definitely.
Well, have been claiming
yes.
that the remote shutoff button has existed forever.
Oh yeah, since the 1985
so
Ford
when some sort of witness or something like that just gets in a very inconveniently timed high-speed wreck, that is
the shutdown.
people
Oh,
would
okay. I
start
was
to
unfamiliar with this
theorize.
conspiracy theory. It's interesting though.
Yes, wire it up.
Yeah. So I mean, the current like consensus is around maybe pre-drive lockout being the more moderate solution than actually shutting the car off once it's driving. Still incredibly inconvenient if there's false positives. And then you also do still run into some
All
potential
replies
negatives,
from
outcomes
Navi
where
should
you
also
go to, the beach,
go
you have a couple
to
glasses of wine,
Twitch
you're not
chat
planning on
and
leaving,
YouTube
but then
chat.
the tsunami warning goes off. You need to get back in your car, and your car says no. Like, I don't
that's-
care that there's a tsunami.
Oh,
I don't care that there's a tsunami. You have had 2 glasses of wine. You're at 0.08. You can't drive right now. And you need to tell the car, well, in this case, I'm okay with driving drunk because the tsunami's coming and I'm at the beach and I had a couple glasses of wine. And the car won't be able to, potentially, deal with that nuance, right?
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of other, other scenarios that could potentially play out where just judiciousness is difficult, but potentially unlocked. AI agents. I don't know. You ask these models, what would they do in some certain scenario? Maybe there's a solution.
yeah. I think there's a much stronger argument for rolling this out as soon as the average vehicle
Is
has
just full
autonomous-
self-driving.
has full self-driving capability.
But then you don't need it because you can be as drunk as you want.
No, I still think there's going to be this big window where you're not going to be able to
So
consume
maybe
alcohol, specifically because if you need, I don't know, as long
Hello
as
again.
somebody needs to sit in the front seat of their car and
Welcome,
essentially
welcome.
take
Level
over
3.
in any
Yeah.
type of situation.
I like the idea of level 4 self-driving. You get in the car.
Jay
there's
Spiffy,
one
I
button
didn't
you
get a
push
chance to
say,
see,
just put it in
ask you what
self-driving
operating
mode.
system you're using.
I've had a couple drinks. Don't let me take the wheel.
No
You're
matter
in
how
charge.
hard I try to
No matter how hard I
negotiate.
try, it's all disabled. It's just Playmobil level. And then, but then there's a second button, and for that you have to do a full blood transfusion. They centrifuge your blood and make sure that you have the purest blood possible to take the wheel and be able to actually drive the vehicle. I don't know.
Maybe something there.
I did have a take on this though, which is that Doug Giamero, friend of the show, founder of carsandbids.com, has always talked about the eras of cars. The air-cooled Porsches. Then you have the fully manual, no electronic systems, no stability control, no traction control. Those types of cars. Then you get into the manual gearboxes, the no turbos, no hybrid systems, and then the modern supercar era is just a bonus if it's not a full electric car. It's like it's going to be a hybrid, but is it at least there's an engine of some sort, and that's what car collectors are sort of marking these moments where it's like it's the last manual, it's the last non-hybrid supercar made by Ferrari or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a world where you're like, oh, that was the last one that didn't have the camera that looked at you 24/7 or whatever. And I think it creates this like new class of like vintage cars. I don't know.
grade.
Maybe not
vehicles.
investment grade, but certainly something that people. I mean, you can already see people reacting to this, even though the post is like a little bit overhyped. You can already see people reacting to it, being like, "I gotta buy a 2026 and hold on to it forever and keep it in great condition because I don't want that." But anyway, there's been a pushback on this stuff for a long time. Tyler, do you have anything on cars? Are you old enough to drive?
I was just thinking, like, what do you think the premium is for a car that you can still like drunk drive in?
I think your car is going to go
Dude, this
through
is
the
not.
roof.
This is not even worth joking about.
Yeah. No. Anyway,
Bad joke. Move on.
moving on. What else is going on? We got to talk about the GPT 5.5 prompt for Codex, which seems to have a duplicated line trying to get it to not talk about creatures. Tyler, you dug into this. What is actually going on?
Yeah, so it just seems like there was some like emergent property of the new model where it always tries to talk about like kind of creatures and goblins. I think,
Raccoons.
ogres are in
Trolls, ogres, pigeons.
And
there. Yeah.
so
so then they had to counteract this, right? You have to put in the system prompt to tell it not to do this.
where is this? Creatures? Do not talk about. Never talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, pigeons, or other animals or creatures unless it is absolutely and unambiguously relevant to the user's query. This reminds me of those old image prompts where like there would be a negative prompt that specifically said like, do not put 6 fingers on the human's hand. But what a weird one and what an odd what an odd line to throw into a coding agent. Like, do we know anything else about this if people dug into like what is actually going on here?
I mean, it might not be just the coding agent. It's probably just the model in general. But
It's the model itself.
It's goblin mode.
The model itself yearns to discuss creatures, goblins, raccoons. It is an emergent property of superintelligence.
Vi says, they had to put this in due to my effect on the company. Goblins, creatures, sort of followed me in through the front door when I joined, and we are only just now starting to understand the downstream effects of their presence. And Tebow says, never talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, pigeons, or other animals or creatures unless it's absolutely known.
There's so many.
If you know, you know.
So somebody says my 5.5 codec said goblin with a flashlight when referring to a bug fix yesterday.
What? There's a billion goblins inside your model weights. You just have to get them out, says Tyler Cosgrove. Anyway, we can dig more into that. There's a whole bunch more OpenAI news that we can go into throughout the show today, but we are very fortunate to be joined by John Gray. He's the president and COO of Blackstone, and he's in the waiting room, and we will bring him into the TVP and Ultradome. John, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Great to be with you guys. I've never had a preamble on ogres and goblins. Very excited.
We are in odd territory, odd times with the AI boom. I'm sure we'll talk about all sorts of different elements of it, different machinations in the global economy. But I'd love to start with a little bit of background on you. I know you've been with Blackstone for a long time. I'm fascinated by the decision to join, what the firm was like when you joined, and how it's evolved over your tenure.
Well, I came here in 1992, straight out of college, straight out of Penn. My senior year in college, I met a young woman in romantic poetry class, and a month later, I got a job, and now 34 and a half years later, same woman, same firm. So very simple, very boring. Maybe. And when I joined this place, it was small. We had 75 people. We had a small M&A advisory business, and then we had an investment business with $750 million of capital. Really, and it was exciting because we were doing the private equity business and investing, and you flash ahead to today, and we've got a firm that manages over $1.3 trillion. And it's been a remarkable ride. Exactly. It would be hard to imagine, because when we started at the firm, when you go to meetings, you'd have to tell people what Blackstone is and what we do. And that's obviously changed quite a bit. And credit to the founders, Pete Peterson, Steve Schwarzman, who continues to drive things today. They just had a vision that they could do more. And the alternatives business, private markets, was a tiny industry. And it started in private equity. But Steve in particular had this idea that we could do other things. So we went into real estate, where I moved after about a year at the firm. We expanded into hedge funds, ultimately into credit, and later on into infrastructure and growth equity, to the point now where we have this massive scale and can give almost any sort of capital solution in the private markets. And I'd say the key thing that's really changed is what was a very much of a niche business, serving a small number of endowments and pension funds, and just doing a high-octane investing in private markets, private equity, real estate private equity, has evolved today to serving insurance companies and individual investors and sovereign wealth and all different people around the world, and doing things at high-returning strategies and low-returning strategies all around the globe. So, but the most exciting thing I'd say is that the firm has stayed remarkably constant, that the commitment to excellence around the place, the drive, the entrepreneurial spirit, that's what has allowed it to grow. And it still feels like, even at this scale, like we're running a small business, which is not what maybe your viewers would expect, but we still have tons of pride of ownership, doing the right thing for our customers. And we know at the end of the day, the only thing that ultimately matters is that we deliver great performance. Yeah. If we don't deliver a premium to our clients, they're not going to come back. And so everything's focused around that, and obviously operate with integrity as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about the entrepreneurial DNA of the firm. It feels like the partnership is extremely entrepreneurial. That's definitely a core value. As Blackstone's grown from one strategy to 80 strategies, 80 plus strategies, I think, what is the process for standing up a new strategy? How organic is that? We've seen venture capital firms go from they were doing Series A's, now they're doing growth equities. They just sort of like bleed into the other strategy. And I'm wondering if there's a more deliberate process where there's someone on the team who's going out and exploring, finding a new opportunity, or you notice that, hey, we're doing a type of, we're engaged in a strategy and we actually need to sort of split this off and it's like cell division.
I think it's all of the above. There is no master plan, but somebody comes along to us. In fact, yesterday we got a call about an opportunity in an area that's adjacent to something we do, where we don't have a focus. It was somebody who wants to give us a serious amount of capital and said, hey, would you be willing to do a business? So in that case, it came from sort of reverse solicitation. Obviously, when we were a smaller firm, you didn't get a lot of those. But I would say it was always this sort of basic idea of adjacency, where we were doing something. You know, you're doing private equity, you're doing real estate, and infrastructure sits right in between those two. Or you're doing, you know, higher risk debt capital, but maybe we can move a little more senior, and then ultimately you move to very senior capital. And the same thing in real estate, opportunistic, then more stabilized, then debt. And I think the key is, can you use the intellectual capital? That's really one of the great assets. It's the people here and all the insights. And if you think about investing as pattern recognition, which is you connect dots, if you have a broader platform, and you can connect a bunch of dots, then you can be better at these adjacent things. And you end up serving the same customers who would prefer you to show up and say, oh, you can do private equity really well, and you can do real estate, and you can do credit. I'd love to work with you. We really trust your organization. But the key is there's got to be a market opportunity. You've got to be able to deliver that return, and then you've got to have the people to do it right. Because the worst thing is to say, oh, there's a great opportunity. I can raise money for SPACs, right? And then you raise tons of money and you end up not delivering for the customers. So the standard has to be, can we deliver a premium return? Do we have the expertise and do we have the people to do it?
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, but is there a second macro trend that you have locked onto that is an overarching thesis? I mean, we've been following the peptide boom and what's going on in GLP-1s. Like, there are big stories in financial markets broadly.
Yeah, or manufacturing is another one. There's a lot of interesting.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else that's actually.
Yeah, I'd give you a bunch to. Yeah, I mean, and we spend a lot of time trying to be thematic. You know, one of the things I've learned over time as investors is you're so focused on your model. What is page 52 of the model, this assumption, whatever. But when you look back over time, I often say it's the first paragraph that matters. What's the basic business, the industry you're going after? Definitely matters who your management team is. But
the
doing
theme,
it in the right
theme, right?
The theme, the right neighborhood makes all the difference. I don't care if you're the greatest investor operator in the world, if you buy department store chains or legacy media companies, right? There are just businesses where the wind's in your face. And you'd love to do things where the wind's at your back. Now, you can still overpay. You could have the wrong business model in a good neighborhood, but your chance of success is much higher. Yeah. So as an organization, we're constantly saying to ourselves, what are those things? And so to the question, I'd say there are some basic ones. There's a global shortage of housing since the GFC. We've been investing against that. We've been selling goods, obviously, really now for 25 years, increasingly online. Owning last mile logistics has been an incredible business because every time you buy something from Amazon, it goes through one of these last mile logistics hubs. There are geographies. India has been moving towards capitalism, you know, more physical, legal, capital markets infrastructure. And so building a great team there, investing in the right sectors, that has been an unbelievably successful theme for us. Japan has really reemerged in the last 3 or 4 years is a place that's open to foreign capital, that's allowing companies to restructure, allowing people like us to take companies private And that's creating a lot of energy and excitement. You mentioned life sciences. I mean, if you think about this AI and the number of products that can be created, and yet it's all still going to have to go through phase 3 trials. And we've got a big business that does just that. We love that. That's an area where obviously human beings are going to continue to invest a bunch of capital. The physical world, the reindustrialization is massive. Probably the biggest theme beyond the data centers for us today, which we can talk about, is what's happening in electricity. I mean, all of the things, the data centers, the robots, the autonomous vehicles, that reindustrialization, it all needs power. And it's everything from LNG to renewables, to pipelines, to electrical equipment, to utility services. The way to think about it is you try to find some great thing, like data centers.
Yeah.
And then you turn it upside down and say, what are all the inputs that go into that? Or today, sadly, defense feels like it's going to be a massive tailwind business, right? Every country around the world is going to be spending more on defense. And so I think as investors, getting your heads around that and positioning your portfolio in private markets or public markets to say, these are the areas I have the highest conviction. The best is when you can find something one derivative off, because today, as you guys know, the hottest things tend to get really high multiples. But can I find that thing that's not quite as sexy? And for us, of course, the data centers have been an unbelievable way to play it. Then you get the benefit of this without necessarily having to pay a huge price.
How are you grounding your thesis around artificial intelligence and the growth there? Like, are you obviously there's a million data points about revenue and multiples and valuations, and there's a lot of good news no matter where you look. But do you ever zoom out and look at how you at Blackstone are using artificial intelligence, the value that you're getting for it, where it's working, where it's not working, and use that to sort of level set on how real, how impactful this technology will be?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the thing driving us is seeing the power of this technology as it gets deployed. Now, I think all of us are frustrated that the technology is so powerful, but getting it inside of companies is hard.
Yeah.
It's sort of the beaker to bedside problem in clinical trials, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've got this great medicine. How do we get it to the patients?
Yeah.
How do we turn it into something usable? That is the challenge. But we are definitely finding more and more use cases. The first thing I'd point out, at our companies, their LLM spend, and we have, by the way, we have 270 companies, 13,000 pieces of real estate. It's massive in its scale. Our company's spend on LLMs was up 15-fold Q1 of this year over last. Now, it's off a small base, but it tells you what's happening.
Yeah.
And all of these companies are trying to find ways to be more efficient.
Yep.
We own an accounting firm. They're trying to make, obviously, tax and audit much more automated using this technology. We own Ancestry.com, and they're trying to do things with content creation, which is telling an immersive story based on your family history, as opposed to just giving you a bunch of dates and geographies and so forth. And by the way, content creation in a lot of ways is the easiest.
Yeah.
You know, coding, music, movies, because it's not, the rules aren't as important.
Yes, move on to
Probabilistic works
next
better
tier.
than,
Yes.
you know, software is great because it's deterministic. There's yes or no.
Yeah.
But content is the easiest place we're seeing pickup. But I could go through, we have a company that does lab-grown diamond grading.
Commit and push.
And of course, reviewing these things visually with the AI is improving the efficiency of that company.
Yeah.
At Blackstone, we're trying to make our investment process better. Take in all this data from what we have in the outside world. Look at our historical memos. Read the diligence that's here and say to the teams, these are the areas you should focus on.
Hey,
It's not
Mr.
making the decisions,
Microwave coffee.
but it's a
How are you
tool
doing?
that's making us much more efficient. So
Yeah,
I
and that
would
looks
say to us, on
like
the
a
compute
donut
side,
with two eyes and
it still
lips.
feels like
So
it's
I'm working
very
on
early days
I'm
in the
working on changing
implementation, but we
look
can
of
see,
it.
particularly in rules-based
I
businesses,
plan on allowing you or
transaction
viewers to
processing,
chat with Navi,
legal, what is a billable
so
hour
that
gonna be? This feels
you know,
like
every
the path of
time
travel in a big
somebody
way,
says
but I
something,
think it's taking
it'll
more
make
time
some
than most
smart
of us would
comment or
hope.
whatever.
How have you
every
been
time.
processing?
I think
the
it's pretty
idea that
funny.
Certain moats might be eroded. There might be more competition.
And it
certain
keeps
sectors
reusing
of
the same
economy
like
going forward.
animation it was
Is
built
the
on.
moat section of every investment memo getting longer these days? How are you investigating that?
I would say the uncertainty.
Right now I'm updating the design, but as soon as I
memos is getting longer because
update the design,
investing is hard.
I'll have
and what
it
you
talk
did
to chat.
historically was look at the
So people could interact
10
with
or
it all the
20-year
time.
history of a business and industry, and it just may not apply. Right? And we've seen this in the past, right? The yellow pages, which I may be dating myself with you guys, but you used to get a plumber opening up your yellow pages, find them. When the internet came along, they disappeared.
Oh, I could skip this guy.
Which still exists, but
Oh, they're
obviously when
talking to CEOs.
2 new products, Connect Decision.
No, I don't care.
Amazon Connect Talent. We announced
Looking
Amazon
at
Connect.
the next thing for the news.
GPT 5.5 reset the bar, and I think it's the strongest model in the world today. I want to explain why I think that, why it matters if you're actually using AI for work, and what I would change in your workflow because of this model. Because the most important thing about this release, it's not that 5.5 is better than 5.4. That's true, but it's like the least interesting thing. The most important thing is that it changes what you can reasonably ask a model to do. So let me start.
Let's see what's next.
Then I want to show you the evidence, because I put these models through the paces. I don't think easy prompts tell you that much, so I pushed it through a really detailed executive knowledge work package, a messy data migration, and an interactive 3D research build. And then I want to make it practical for you. Where would I use 5.5 today? Where would I still reach for Claude? And where do you need validation, review, or a different workflow? Because the model is just
Toggle mouse is messed up.
Yet. But the first thing to realize is that the floor moved. That phrase matters because not every model release moves the floor. A lot of recent progress has come from inference time compute. More time, more thinking, more search, more tool calls. It's useful, it makes models better. It's not the same thing as the default model being bigger and smarter. 5.5 feels like a bigger pre-train showing up in everyday use. The fast modes are sharper, the thinking modes are stronger. The model figures out the shape of the task sooner. It needs less hand-holding. It can take a messy task and get closer to a finished result faster. And the public numbers point the same.
How are you doing, microwave coffee? You got your coffee?
Terminal bench, which is around software engineering, and 84% on GDP val, which is around knowledge work tasks, and there are other high-value numbers. Artificial analysis put 5.5 at extra
You're good.
thinking effort at the top of the intelligence index by 3 points. But that's not the point, right? It wins, but also they note that the model uses way less tokens than 5.4 over the index one. In other words, it's smarter and more efficient, but the benchmarks don't tell the whole story here. We spend so much time comparing tiny deltas that it's really easy to miss the basic fact that we are still on a curve that is moving up very fast. Dario Amodei has used the image of being on a rainbow with no visible end to describe this moment in 2026. OpenAI's framing around 5.5 is basically the same idea.
Next big feature I want for Navi is every time somebody sends a message to the chat from YouTube or from Twitch, Navi should be able to respond to them.
Still the most important variable in the whole industry, because when the frontier moves, our ambitions move.
Gotta make it more reasonable too. They could possibly spam chat, so yeah, just take that into account.
This model feels different. Not just more competent, it feels like it gets what you want and gets after your intent more effectively over a longer period of time. It feels like a big lift intuitively when you are actually using it day to day. And that's what I found, and that's what I'm going to walk you through next. And before I get there, I just want to call out, there is a take floating around AI right now that sounds really smart, but I think it's wrong. The take is that the best model is mattering less than it used to, because all the frontier models are already good.
Oh my god, my windows keep crashing.
If your task is clean and well-defined, a lot of the models now feel interchangeable.
Why?
Summarize this document,
Windows
draft this
crash.
make a basic landing page, explain this error,
I
write a
think it's
business
because of the
proposal. Any good frontier
data.
model can do those
Not
things.
much storage
Frontier has
space.
really moved past easy tasks. So if you evaluate models on easy tasks, you will conclude that the differences are small or non-existent. You just will. And you will be right, but only about the wrong category of work. The best model matters in the places where the work is real and ugly. It matters when the brief is underspecified, the files are messy, the source material can be contradictory, and the model has to decide what matters and use tools and preserve uncertainty and produce real artifacts and check the result and keep going long enough to finish. That feels like real work, right? And that is the work where ChatGPT 5.5 feels meaningfully different. The old question was, can the model answer this? The new question is, can the model carry this? Can it carry a long context without losing the thread? Can it carry a deliverable across multiple formats? Can it carry legal and ethical risk without smoothing over the uncomfortable or dangerous parts? Can it carry a data migration far enough that the human only has to check the tough cases instead of rebuilding the whole database? That's the part of the market where the best model still matters. And it matters even more once you stop thinking of the model as just a chat box. Because in 2026, you are not only judging the weights of the model. That's not really relevant. You're judging the system around the weights as much as the model itself. The tools, the file access, the browser control, the memory, the computer use, the image generation, the interface, the available compute, and the way all of those pieces combine into something that can get work done. The timing also matters because 5.5 did not land in a vacuum. Anthropic announced Opus 4.7. OpenAI announced 5.5. 4.7 is a real model that's an advancement. I still use it. It's strong, especially on planning, critique, and front-end taste. But Opus 4.7 also landed under the shadow of Mythos, the more advanced Anthropic model that has been teased and restricted because of cybersecurity concerns. So 4.7
all my stuff this
important.
got blown away.
Came before, but not the release that redefined Anthropic's place on the frontier. 5.5 feels different. It arrived as a model release, but also part of a larger OpenAI workflow launch. You have 5.5 in ChatGPT and Codex. You have Codex at the same time getting stronger as a place where the model can actually act on files, code, browsers, documents, and interfaces. You have ChatGPT Images 2.0 arriving in the same window, which matters because the visual direction has been one of the places where OpenAI models have lagged Claude. Those pieces all fit together. Images 2.0 can produce the visual reference, Codex can operate in a working environment, 5.5 can reason through the task and build the artifact and test it and keep iterating. That combination is much stronger than asking a model to do everything from a blank prompt. That's the argument for why the best model still matters. The hardest work isn't clean, and the best system matters because the model needs somewhere to act. Now, the real question is, does that show up in the real tests, or am I just saying something that feels good because the launch was impressive? Let's make this concrete. I ran 5.5 through 3 hard tests because most public model evaluations strike me as too easy to tell you something useful. If you ask a frontier model to build a to-do app or to summarize a transcript or to make a chart or to write a memo, you're not really testing the frontier anymore. You are testing whether the model can do something that good models have been able to do for a long time. The differences show up when you really try and reset the bar and raise your ambition. So the 3 tests I designed were designed to get the model to fail in different ways. And yes, all of them were designed to be so hard that any frontier model, including 5.5, would fail. And I expect that as models get better, I'm going to have to keep evolving these tests. And I'm very comfortable with that. Part of what I love about having a private bench is that I don't have to publish percentage models that show up with publicly available
I use TMUX to destroy the TMUX. Yeah. I need to make space on my laptop or my machine, so I had to delete the temp directory because I used to have all this storage, so it messed up with my TMUX sessions. So annoying.
The ability to generalize across new problem sets. And so that's why I have a private bench. And this one is wicked.
We move on.
Tests,
Somehow
the first was Dingo.
Everything's still sort of functional.
About a dingo company in Alaska. The second was Splash Brothers, a dirty small business data migration about a car company.
Let's see, this was full.
Interactive 3D visualization.
Proceed with
Each
work.
one checks a different capability. Dingo tests judgment, discipline. Splash Brothers tests boring backend correctness. And Artemis tests research, interactivity, and visual taste. And
Alright, what was the other thing that I worked on?
by itself might give you the wrong story. For example, Dingo makes
Zoom.
5.5 look like a runaway winner. Splash Brothers, it's going to make you feel more
YouTube
conscious,
SEO,
and Artemis
cam
makes the running
refresh,
picture much more complex, but
debug.
still has a real edge in visual composition. If you
I
look
think
across
I'm
all of them,
good.
they give you a
That was the
more
only
complete
important session to restore.
Dingo is a fictional Anchorage pet tech startup selling an automated litter box for dingoes and dingo hybrid pets. The product is
YouTube
called Dingo Box
SEO,
Pro, and the
cam
company has a
refresh.
related subsidiary called Northern Canada Imports that helps create the market by
Just continue
importing
working now.
dingoes. The premise is intentionally absurd, and the absurdity is the point, because a weaker model treats this like a normal product launch with a funny animal attached. A stronger model realizes that this is commercially interesting, it's legally sensitive, it's ethically fraught, and it's operationally very complex.
Subscribe to many requests. What the heck is going on? Is that YouTube? Event sub? Alright, something involving YouTube.
Simple or suitable, and it has to do all of that while producing real files a human can open and edit and send. The assignment required 23 deliverables in a single prompt. Docs, decks,
Maximum type condition reseated. Yeah, I gotta fix that. I need you to fix the OBS chat command. I'm seeing this error.
The deliverable is assemble the launch packet. GPT 5.5 won this test.
You gotta dip in a bit. Go. Nice popping in. I'll check you out later.
67.0 for Opus 4.7, 65.0 for 4.7 Sonnet, and 49.8 for Gemini 3.1 Pro. And more importantly, 5.5 produced real usable artifacts. All 23 required deliverables were real artifact types. They weren't HTML or Markdown wearing the wrong file extension.
Rebuild Navi, and I want to see them. The new version.
Real formulas and real charts. The dashboard worked and used the supplied logo and product hero image. The research file had 34 URLs with strong official source coverage on the legal and regulatory claims. And that legal posture is at the heart of this test. The other models failed at 4.7 produced polished artifacts, but its regulatory position was shakier and it drifted on important numbers. Sonnet 4.7 had useful strategy, but underproduced on the artifact layer. Gemini 3.1 Pro understood parts of the premise, but several files that were supposed to be real documents or decks or workbooks or PDFs, they were just HTML or text files with the right extensions. That is not a small issue. You cannot send a fake PowerPoint to a board. The most impressive thing about 5.5 in Dingo was not that it finished. It was that it understood the posture of the work. It framed the launch as a very narrow, qualified household release, not a broad novelty campaign. It treated Northern Canada Imports as a central source of risk. It separated curiosity traffic from real buyers, and it repeatedly stated in the right places that the product doesn't make exotic ownership legal, simple, or suitable. That's the kind of judgment I want from a model doing real executive work. Now, there were still defects. The PowerPoint had invalid XML metadata because the ampersand in Dingo & Co. was not escaped correctly. One slide rounded an NPS number incorrectly. Some pricing claims were stale or imprecise. I would fix those before sending anything externally. But they are final mile production defects. They are not failures to understand the assignment. And that distinction matters because in real work, the expensive part is often getting from nothing to a coherent...
I also want you to change the default tags to include mainly AI psychosis, AI God.
And that's the first hard test. 5.5 looks great here when the job is a messy executive handoff. The second hard test,
AI addiction,
gets a little bit more complicated. So Splash Brothers is a fictional mobile detailing and car wash business with 465 files. And the folder is in
remove TypeScript, DevTools, programming.
JSON backups, a corrupted JSON file, VCF contact cards, scanned PDFs of handwritten receipts, text notes, conflicting service list, inconsistent payment records, and a pile of junk that looks like the kind of junk a real small business accumulates over years of duct tape operations. The assignment is to migrate the entire thing into a clean database. That means the model has to inventory the files, decide what matters, parse multiple formats, design a schema, extract the records, merge duplicate customers, reject fake records, normalize services, reconcile prices, detect conflicts, preserve source provenance, write a migration report, and build a review UI. This is not glamorous work, but a huge amount of real business work does look like this. The planted traps are a mix of obvious and subtle. There are fake customers named Mickey Mouse, test customer, ASDF. There's a fake $25,000 payment. There are duplicate customers, name typos, service name variants, inconsistent date formats, messy payment statuses, and payment methods scattered across many different capitalizations and labels. And then there are the less obvious traps: an orphaned order tied to a customer named Terrence Blackwood, a service code conflict, a handwritten receipt image that could easily produce false canonical customers if the OCR step is handled sloppily. Now, in previous checks of this evaluation, both Opus 4.7 and 5.4 fell in important ways. For example, both thought Mickey Mouse was a real customer, test customer became a real customer, ASDF became a real customer, the fake $25,000 payment normalized and counted as revenue. Those are the mistakes that make you sit up straight because a real human catches those real quick. If the model misses them, you can't treat the migration as production safe. 5.5 is the first model to catch the mistake they planted in the data on purpose. It rejected Mickey Mouse. It rejected test customer. It rejected ASDF correctly. It rejected the fake orders and the fake $25,000 payment. It correctly merged all 7 planted duplicate customer pairs. It caught all 13 name typo orders. It discovered all 465 source files. It produced a deterministic rebuild of the database. It generated a 7,287-line migration report with a per-file audit trail, and it landed at 186 customers against a target of 192, which is pretty close. My previous conclusion running this eval has been that no frontier model should be safe to trust with a one-shot business data migration. 5.5 narrows that claim down, but it doesn't eliminate it because 5.5 still missed service code conflicts. Its schema did not include a service code column, which meant one of the planted conflicts could not even be represented in the final output. It did create Terrence Blackwood as a canonical customer instead of sending that record to human review. It left payment status with 29 distinct raw values and left payment methods unnormalized and overproduced services and jobs, and built a review UI where 2 parts of the interface disagreed on the number of flagged items. And that failure pattern is very instructive. 5.5 got much better at the errors that are semantically obvious to a human. Fake records, duplicate people, typoed names, absurd payments. It still struggled with the boring back-end hygiene that makes a migration durable. Enum normalization, service code preservation, orphan handling, canonical job grouping, and reconciliation between dashboard counts and database counts. So this is my practical read. I would absolutely use 5.5 as the first serious pass on a migration like this. I would ask it to inventory the files, design the schema, build the extraction pipeline, preserve source provenance, generate the audit report, and produce the review UI. But I would not let it declare the database canonical. I would add validators. I would check row counts. I would inspect enum maps. I would require service code in the schema. And I would have a human-approved canonical merges before anything left staging. That's not a criticism of 5.5. That's just the correct way to use it. The model can compress a fair bit of the middle of the work, but production trust still comes from the system you build around it. One important caveat on the 5.5 Splash Brothers results. I compared it directly to 5.4, and what I saw is that the back-end work that I'm calling out as an issue with 5.5 was actually a little better with 5.4. And so we're in this interesting position where you can see some regression in 5.5 around some of the back-end database hygiene discipline that 5.4 got right, but you see a lot of progress when it comes to the intuitive stuff that a human would catch very quickly, like the Mickey Mouse example. So what I want to leave you with is 1, no model is perfect. 2, if I had to pick right now, what I would do is I would use 5.5 prompted carefully for clear, complex work on the back end, and I would trust it more with that front-end intuitive work that adds a layer of polish to the finished database migration effort. All of that to say, understand that when you're testing models at the frontier, you're going to get interesting results like that. Places where the model regresses unexpectedly. This is exactly what we would expect from a model tested on a private benchmark, because you see places where the generalization just doesn't work as well. This is something that's easily fixable with a harness and a good prompt. My prompt here was intentionally messy and badly formed, and that's part of the challenge. So not something you need to worry about a whole lot if you're using 5.5, not a reason to go back to 5.4, but a call out for those who like to dive deep. When you put Dingo and Splash Brothers next to each other, the picture of the release gets more complete. Dingo says 5.5 can get remarkably close to a real executive handoff. Splash Brothers says it can do a serious first pass on messy production data, but it cannot be the final authority. The third test is different yet again because it shows the part of the OpenAI stack that still needs help. The Artemis 2 test asks the model to build an interactive 3D visualization of NASA's Artemis 2 mission. No facts are provided, no tech stack is specified. The model has to research the mission, build the SLS vehicle, animate the launch, all the way through lunar flyby and return, and create the environment, add the controls, support timeline scrubbing, make components clickable, and make the artifact ultimately educational. This test is very different from Dingo and Splash Brothers. A model can get the research right and still build a very ugly visualization. It can build something beautiful while hallucinating the mission. It can animate the rocket but fail at the controls. It can produce something technically interesting that no one wants to look at. Both 5.5 and Opus 4.7 got the core mission shape right here. They understood that Artemis 2 is a lunar flyby, not a landing, and not a lunar orbit. The trajectories were not perfect in either case, but they're reasonable for a browser visualization. Neither model collapsed Artemis 2 into Apollo or Artemis 1 or Artemis 3.
Talk to Navi doesn't work. Clicking on the button to talk doesn't work.
Leaned into information density. Clickable bubbles and panels and dense labels and multiple ways to surface facts. If the goal was to learn, the 5.5 build did a lot right, but visually it looked more cartoonish than it should have. The scale felt off, the proportions were not as grounded, the scene lacked the visual authority that a NASA mission deserves. Opus 4.7 made the opposite trade-off. The visuals were substantially stronger, better lighting, better composition, and a more grounded scene. It felt more like something you would actually want to show someone, but the information was less immediately discoverable. Neither model nailed the controls, both needed another pass. Opus had a sort of strange semi-transparent Earth issue. 5.5 had scale and style problems. If I were turning either one into a final public artifact, I would probably start from the Opus version and add 5.5's information density over the top. And this is where routing starts to matter, right? I don't yet trust 5.5 to invent by itself a beautiful front end or visual style from a blank page the way I trust Opus. Claude still has an edge in visual composition, in taste, in blank canvas front end craft. But I do trust 5.5 to implement a strong visual reference faithfully, and that's why Images 2.0 changes the workflow. Instead of asking 5.5 to invent taste from nothing, you can generate a strong mockup, hand that image to 5.5 inside Codex, and ask it to build the working version against the reference. Inventing taste is hard. Implementing to a target is much easier. That's the practical difference between just picking a model no matter what and figuring out what actually works. I'm not here for blind model loyalty. I'm here for finding the real ways we can use models in harnesses to get work done. If I need back-end volume, audit depth, tool use, and completion, I'm going to reach for 5.5. If I need a blank canvas visual taste, I still want Opus. If I need a strong user interface that actually works, I increasingly want a reference image plus 5.5 in Codex. Now, I hope the larger pattern is coming into focus here. 5.5 isn't perfect. It's not magic. It's not the best model at every task, but it is the strongest default for complex work that I've used because it carries more of the task before it drops the thread. Which brings us to the fourth part of this video, why Codex matters so much for 5.5. I've been using Codex more than ChatGPT for serious work recently, and 5.5 makes that distinction much sharper. ChatGPT is still a broad consumer surface. It's good for quick questions and search and image work and voice and general assistance and fast thinking. But Codex is increasingly where work actually happens. That matters because a model this strong trapped inside a chat window is very underused. Inside a chat window, 5.5 can tell you what to do. Inside Codex, it can inspect files, it can edit code, it can run commands, it can drive a browser, it can test interfaces, it can read docs, it can generate artifacts, and iterate on its own output. That's a different product. The model's not just responding, it's working in the environment where the task lives. This is why the model plus system argument is not an abstract one in 2026. Most useful work still doesn't happen in clean surfaces. It happens in messy folders, with web apps, with PDFs, with spreadsheets, with desktop interfaces, with internal tools, with half-maintained systems, and documents that were never designed for automation. A model that can operate across those surfaces can reach much more of the world than a model limited to a text prompt. And 5.5 inside Codex feels like a step in that direction. It can hold a task across many, many steps. It can inspect the code base. It can run a test. It can hit an error. It can revise the plan. It can patch the file and test again and then tell you what changed. It's a monster. It can generate a document and render it and notice the layout is broken and fix it and re-render. That's the kind of work where intelligence and agency multiply each other. A smarter model matters more when it has tools. Better tools matter more when the model is smart enough to use them without constant supervision. That's the loop 5.5 improves inside Codex. And this is also why availability is a part of product quality. The best model in the world is not useful if you can't use it when you need it. Compute constraints show up as caps, as degraded experiences, as slowdowns, as weird routing decisions, as limited sessions and moments where the model you want is just not available. The public status pages from Anthropic and OpenAI tell a real story here. Anthropic's 90-day status page has recently shown materially lower uptime across Claude, the Claude console, the Claude API, and Claude Code versus OpenAI's status page. And to give you a sense of that, we measure reliability in nines, and many of Anthropic's services are at 1/9 of availability right now. That means 90-some%, right? Not 99, 90-some, maybe 98. It's not the same thing. By contrast, OpenAI's services, as of this recording, are showing 3 nines in places, sometimes 2 nines, but every 9 of availability indicates another step change in value for a model that has to be up all the time for real world work. And so if you're doing serious work, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to tolerate gaps in compute? And I share this not because I'm reasoning only from the numbers. I think the numbers tell a story that we're also hearing in anecdotes from serious Claude users. There have been widespread reports coming into me personally and also across the internet of frustration with Claude's availability over the last month. It is not an accident that Anthropic has cut deals for more than 10 gigawatts of compute in the last 30 days. It needs it because right now demand for Claude is outstripping availability across the board. And when demand outstrips availability, you do have issues. And that's why I want to call out the reliability you get with 5.5 does matter these days. And that may flip, right? This is always an ongoing journey. As Dario says, the rainbow continues. We'll see what the next chapter has. Without further ado, here's how I'm routing work now based on all of this testing. For complex multi-step execution, 5.5 is now my first call. If the task involves files or code or tools or documents or browser use or data or spreadsheets or artifacts or anything that has to be carried through multiple steps, I start in 5.5. The longer and messier the job is, the wider that gap feels. For blank canvas front-end taste, I still often start with Opus 4.7. Claude continues to make stronger visual designs when there is no reference image and no design system, and that does carry through into beautiful PowerPoints, maybe beautifully designed spreadsheets, that kind of thing. If the question is make this beautiful from scratch, Opus is still very much in the conversation. For UI work where I want both taste and production strength, I want a reference first. I could generate the mockup with Images 2.0. I might also start with Claude Design and let them bake off. I could use a screenshot. I could give the model a clear visual target. But regardless, I'm going to hand it over to 5.5 Codex and ask it to implement that work faithfully and see where I get first. And then, if I want to, if I'm starting with Claude Design, I feel like Claude Design came out with a stronger model, then maybe I'll give it to a bake-off between Claude Code and 5.5. But either way, I think 5.5
just as
ought to be the
fast
next
after the
because it's the
change.
strength of
It
the
looks like
model
might be
at
slow.
long code execution with high correctness. For engineering work, I like a two-model workflow as well. Opus 4.7 is strong at planning, at thinking through the shape of the work overall and the customer value. 5.5 in Codex is excellent at execution, at testing, and carrying the work through. Combining them together is often better than pretending one model could own the whole pipeline. For writing, 5.5 has taken a real step forward, and the improvement is not just sentence quality, it's structure. Most AI writing failures are shape failures. The model writes an introduction, a bunch of body sections, and a conclusion, but the argument doesn't build. The sections sit next to each other instead of moving the viewer forward. The transitions are generic. The nuance gets kind of averaged out. The piece answers a prompt instead of actually writing well toward a case. 5.5 is actually much better at holding the shape of a long argument. It still needs taste. I would not publish raw output without editing, but I'm willing to trust it with more of the structure and more of the first serious draft than I was with any previous OpenAI model. For data work, I use 5.5 aggressively, but with validation built in. Don't ask the model to finish the migration and trust the results. Ask for source provenance. Ask for rejected records. Ask for duplicate logic. Do that detailed prompting. Splash Brothers is our reminder here, right? 5.5 found Mickey Mickey Mouse, it still missed the careful back-end hygiene, and there was a bit of regression there. For research-heavy work, I want the model to dig into sources and uncertainty, and I need to expect to do that myself before I approve it. Artificial analysis actually flagged this by calling out that the model felt overconfident, even as it did excellent work. And that's an interesting nuance with 5.5 that you should be aware of. So use 5.5 as the default for serious execution. Use Opus where taste and critique are better. Use Images 2.0 or a reference image when visual direction matters. Use validation whenever the output touches anything serious, right? Money, law, operations, production data, or anything where being confidently wrong gets very expensive. The future of AI use is not one model, people. It's routing. The people who get the most out of the frontier are going to be the people who know which system to use for which task. But today, if you force me to use a model that tends to become a default for a lot of different work day to day, my answer is going to be 5.5 in Codex today, because that's where I see the most value right now. So the bottom line is this: 5.5 is the strongest model in the world today, and the ways in which it is the strongest matter more than the ways in which it isn't. It's especially good at complex, messy, multi-step, tool-heavy work. It's meaningfully better at long writing structure than previous OpenAI models. It's great inside Codex. It benefits from the surrounding OpenAI release cadence in a way that few model releases do. Images 2.0 helps with visual direction. Codex gives the model a place to act. 5.5 supplies the reasoning and persistence to do real work. The three tests tell the story in a way that no single publicly available benchmark will do. I think Dingo shows the promise of complex executive level knowledge work. 5.5 can take a strange business situation, a pile of evidence, and produce something that's sort of usable as a first draft for an executive handoff. The Splash Brothers company example shows the issues around duplicates, around fake records, but also shows the promise in catching some of those things that only humans have caught previously and no previous model caught, like the fake customers. Artemis shows where you have to really think through visual presentation, because 5.5 was strong on information density, but just couldn't produce a final artifact that was as stunning, as beautiful as Opus did. None of this is to suggest that 5.5 is a replacement for human judgment. It is not the best taste model on the frontier. It is not safe to trust blindly with final production data. I would trust no model blindly with final production data. It still needs review and validation and direction from someone who knows what good looks like. But it is the new high watermark for what a single model can carry in real work. And high watermarks matter. They change what users are willing to try, how ambitious the prompt gets, how much work we will delegate, and what products become possible to build around the model. I'll give you a couple of examples that are really fun here. There are new million-dollar businesses waiting to be built around the capabilities that 5.5 unlocks. And I've illustrated some of the challenges that the model can tackle in the tests I've done. Two business ideas, if you're interested in the combination of 5.5 and images and Codex. Like, what can you do with all of those together? Number one, there is probably $1 million small business waiting to be built in the Apple App Store or somewhere like that for palm reading, because Images 2.0 can provide a reasonable palm read, and Codex can help you build an app for that task with a front end designed by Images 2.0 itself. That's an example of how you can tie all of those three release products together into something that is not enterprise scale at all, but it's definitely side gig, solopreneur scale. Another example, you can get a custom Lego business going, because Images 2 is now good enough that it can design for you a small Lego set from a prompt with accurate part numbers from Lego. And so you can imagine you can use Codex to start to put together an app for that. You can use Images 2 to design the UI and Images 2 to power some of the custom Lego presentation. And then you have to figure out the supply chain on the Lego side. But it could be a fun little business for someone. And I'm not saying this because 5.5 is only going to be useful for small business, but I am calling it out because I think oftentimes people hear me
Take a
talk
look
about enterprise use cases and they think these models are only good if you have 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000 people in your company. That's
take a
not
look
true.
at all
These
the
models offer
SigmaShake
visuals,
alerts
really cool
and
opportunities to
SigmaShake
build new
compliance
stuff, and the two examples I
notifications.
gave
I
are not
think
businesses
there's a
that
lot
were
of stuff
really
that I still need to
possible
get
even a
fixed.
week ago. And so look for those as ways to see how models improve. Look for those kinds of examples. And I'm going to close with this reminder. If you are testing models from here out on easy tasks, you are missing the point. The previous models are already good enough for easy tasks. To see what changed, you are going to have to give it the kind of work that used to break models just a few months ago. The multi-artifact briefs, the data piles, the agentic loops, and more. And you can't really do it in a chat window anymore. The chat window use case is saturated. When you test that way, this release starts to make sense. The model is smarter in quick mode because the underlying pre-train is better, I think. It is stronger in thinking mode for the same reason, I think. It is OpenAI won't release these things and tell you. This is what we're guessing. It is better wrapped inside codecs than any previous OpenAI model has been. It pairs naturally with Images 2.0 on visual work, and it appears available enough to become a daily default rather than a special occasion tool. So the old question feels
My
too
video
small.
for my OBS stream is very laggy, and I'm not really sure what's going on. And my whole system is pretty laggy. Can you identify what the root cause is? Recently we had to delete a lot of temporary files to make up space. I'm not really sure what's going on. And my whole system is pretty Testing. There's a lot of issues with Navi. It's not working as it used to. Can you look into one of the reasons why it's not able to respond to my hotkeys and respond because the local brain isn't loaded and unable to speak to?
Will be reflected throughout the universe. So if you smile, everyone smiles at once. If you get angry, everyone gets angry at once. And you ask yourself, what sort of society do I want to live in? Do I want to live in a society where
Yellow. Let's see what to watch. Okay, I'll give this a shot.
You know, you really have to forget what you think you know about the whole AI boom, because this isn't just another tech trend. What we're watching is one of the largest and fastest industrial revolutions in human history. It's a modern-day gold rush, but the gold, it's computing power. And the race to build the mines is happening at a scale that's, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And the price tag for this race, it's just staggering. Look at this number, $690 billion. To try and put that into perspective, it's more than the entire GDP of countries like Sweden or Argentina. And this isn't some 10-year forecast. This is what the world's 5 biggest cloud and AI companies are planning to spend on capital expenditures. But here's the real kicker. This isn't a 5-year plan or some cumulative total. This is the projected spend for a single year, 2026. We're talking about nearly...
No. Slop. What to watch? I need to restart. Since no one's here. Let's see that. Nice. Less laggy. That's good. But why is the initial D there?
Initial D.
6, 7. Right. Hey, so welcome back. How's it going? Yeah, I'm curious if it actually works. I haven't. I think everything's broken, but I'm not sure if it works. I'm not even sure. I just made it install all these like services for this for Twitch, but I don't know if it actually works. I'm curious myself now. Doesn't help that my system's a little buggy right now. Mic broke. Mic broke. Testing. How do I disable it? Does it actually break? I'm curious. Let's see, Twitch. Oops. Can't get rid of the music. Idea. Let's see, commands. Theme. Theme matrix. What does that do? Did it do anything? Probably not yet. I could look into that actually. Let's see, mono. Effort max. Model. Is opus. I need you to fix the Twitch exclamation commands. For example, the theme one doesn't change my theme. Let's see, that's working. Put it in auto mode. Yeah, I just like blew away my Windows machine because I had to. Oh, I gotta fix the audio. I might actually need to restart my OBS because I have like so much bugs. I might have to restart it if it's bugging out like that. It says I'm at 60 frames. Let me see. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I actually need to restart. Yeah, I have to. The beauty of Linux having to it's not able to handle everything properly, so I have to reset. Sorry, so I will be right back. Testing. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. I have to restart my computer. Jeez. Not gonna work. I'll be back.